All right, we're here hanging out with Elizabeth Harms tonight, Manitoba, not tonight, just now. Just, you can only watch this video at night. With Elizabeth Harms, Manitoba Pulse and Soybean Growers Association. She's basically promised that your mind is going to be blown completely by these black bean brownies. And I'm going to be honest, like sometimes, you know, you try and we'll say healthify a recipe and people are like, oh, it tastes great. And then you eat it, it's like, yeah, this is really good. But you're promising that this is going to be out of this world.
I think you'll be surprised.
And not to minimize how wonderful beans are, because of course they are fantastic. And it's just always interesting to incorporate them into a brownie-like recipe. So how do we do this?
All right, so we have essentially divided our ingredients kind of into the wet ingredients and the dry ingredients. And we're gonna start with the wet, which means starting with our lovely black beans. And we've got a whole can of beans here, 19 ounces. Loaded with protein and fiber.
And I'm guessing you definitely want to rinse those off.
Yes, definitely.
That'll be
definitely
crucial.
Rinse them. I also actually would recommend laying them flat on like a cookie sheet or something just to dry them a little bit. That way they don't get too clumpy when they're in the blender.
Okay.
We're adding a whole bunch of like wet ingredients to it, so it won't be too bad. But if you can add that little extra step of drying them,
that's
gonna be golden.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, full can of black beans into the blender. 2 eggs. Quarter cup of melted butter. I'm using unsalted here. We've got 2 teaspoons of vanilla.
Okay.
And then we've got 2 squares of semi-sweet chocolate that's already been melted. We're gonna just pour that here.
Right.
Okay, we're gonna turn this sucker on.
Okay.
Woo! All right.
All there is to it. Now.
All there is to it. So that covers the liquid portion of our dish. All right, so now we come to our standard kind of baking ingredients. I've got 3/4 cup of brown sugar in here.
Okay.
We're gonna add 1/3 cup of cocoa powder. Again,
So we're gonna mix all the dry together and then,
1/3 cup of flour. We've got some baking soda and salt. And then I have this ingredient here. It is instant coffee powder.
what does this do?
So coffee and chocolate go very well together.
Indeed.
They kind of bring out the intensity of each of those different ingredients, and I really think they're like the perfect kind of marriage flavor in baking, especially.
They make a good couple.
They do. Now, in this particular recipe, they can also play a role in maybe hiding the bean taste.
Okay. Okay, which again, we love beans, we love the way they taste, but in a recipe like this, it's kind of nice to mitigate that maybe a little bit. Yeah.
So I've got 2 teaspoons of instant coffee powder. I'm just gonna add that straight in there. I'm gonna give it a quick whisk.
When do the chocolate chips go in?
If you're anything like me, I would have eaten half of them by now. And the whisk is good because it kind of gets rid of some of those lumps that are in there, especially with brown sugar. It kind of gets a little clumpy, but
it can,
that's okay. All right, so I'm gonna get rid of the whisk. We don't need it anymore. And I'm gonna
twist and lift.
There we go. All right, so pour.
That looks great. Yeah. There we go. So is this about how blended you would want it? Because I can still see kind of some little flecks in there.
You can kind of see the little peels, right?
Does that matter?
No.
Okay. All right.
No, we're gonna scrape the rest of that out of there.
Okay.
All right, so do you want to add the chocolate chips while I mix this?
I think that's a part I was born to play. There you go.
So yeah, we're gonna mix this together, get a little bit of that folding action in. We don't want to over mix it. We just want to make sure that everything kind of comes together. All right, so that looks pretty good. I've got a 8x8 pan here that's been greased. You can use 8x8 or 9x9, whatever you've got in your cupboard drawer, whichever, if you keep things in the oven. Pour it in there.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. And it just smells like chocolate. Like it just, that's what we've got going on here.
There we go. All right, we're gonna kind of push that into the corners there. You don't want to give it too much of a
because again, you don't want to work it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there we go.
So how hot is the oven?
The oven is at 350.
350, okay.
Do you
want me to pop that in there?
Yep.
Yeah, might as well.
And We bake it for about, I want to say 20-ish minutes. But again, with brownies, you don't want to over bake them, right? So I would say about the maybe even 18-minute mark, depending on your oven and how hot it is. Take a toothpick and test it. Yes, now you can test it. Go for it. We've got a piece there for you cut out.
Okay, this is the moment you've been
This
waiting
is the moment,
for. Never mind me.
So it's very exciting for me to see people taste things like this, especially when it's such an unusual ingredient like black beans in brownies. But I think to get the full impact, I need someone to taste it and have that reaction and be like completely honest about what they actually think about it.
Well, the texture is so incredibly moist. That's the first thing, which you know, probably in part is thanks to the beans, but you would never guess.
Yeah,
you would never guess. It just tastes chocolatey and wonderful. Okay,
amazing.
I've tried it. You try it. You tell us. Rest people out. Check it out.